Hello, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that is eagerly awaiting Knight Rider, the worker placement game. Why are you putting a wooka there, Michael? Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to take a look at Ticket to Ride, Rails and Sails from Days of Wonder. In Ticket to Ride, Rails and Sails from Days of Wonder, 2 to 5 players are attempting, of course, to build railway lines all over the world or the Great Lakes, depending on which map you are playing. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to play Ticket to Ride. There's other videos out there that kind of explain how the basic game is played. I'm just going to kind of tell you what this particular version brings to your game. Now, Ticket to Ride, Sails and Rails is not an expansion. It is a self-contained game. Everything you need to play it is right in here. You have 2 maps. You have one of the world, that is to say the planet Earth, and you have the other one of the Great Lakes, that is to say the planet Great Lakes. Now what's going to happen is, what kind of makes this one different is, in addition to just creating rail lines, you're also kind of creating ocean liner lines across the world or across the lakes. So instead of just one deck of cards with the different colors of trains, you have 2 decks of cards. This is the trains and the ships, and you're putting 3 out at any given time. Now again, players on the turn, they can take from either one, and they can go ahead and they can do the same rules just with the 2 different decks instead of just the one train deck from the traditional Ticket to Ride game. Now, when you're selecting the various tickets you're trying to complete, the ticket cards you're trying to complete, there's also tours. They also have these tour cards. And what the tours do is they give you not just 2 destinations, 2 termini of your route, but rather they give you several cities that it must go through, and you get points for connecting them in order. If you can do that, connect them in order, you get a big payday. If you fail to do it, of course, you get a pretty big hit at the end of the game. Now, the other big difference in this game is you also have the ports. Now, what ports do is if you have connected a railroad line or a ship line into a city with an anchor on it, you can build a port there, provided that you have 2 ship cards and 2 train cards of the same color that must have a port symbol on them. Of course, you can use wild cards for either of those. Now, if you build that port, you're going to get a lot of points at the end of the game for the more routes you have, both trains and ships, that are leading into that port. At the end of the game, if you still have ports left over that you didn't build, you do take a hit. Now, you also do have kind of pair routes. These are routes that are over difficult terrain, so you have to play kind of 2 of the same kinds of cards in order to build a train line there as well. Now, 2, also, at the beginning of the game, you get a number of trains and a number of boats. Now, you can kind of decide this for yourself, what you think you're going to need. The game recommends a certain number. But you can essentially build in what proportions you think you're going to use during the game. Now, that's a fixed number. What you can do later in the game is you can go ahead on your turn and you can exchange any number of one for the other, kind of from the reserve you leave in the box. So as soon as one player gets down to 6 or fewer pieces, that's both ship pieces and train pieces, then the game is, you have 2 more rounds, and then the game is over. Now, when the game is over, you're going to score various things. Of course, you're going to score your tickets and those touring tickets. You're going to score the harbors and how many ship lines you have going into the harbors. All of these things are going to be factors in the game. Now, unlike regular Ticket to Ride, you don't have like longest route and some of those cards. So you're just kind of going off what you can see on the board at the beginning of the game. And that is how you play Ticket to Ride, Rails and Sails. So what do I think of Ticket to Ride, Rails and Sails? Well, let me say, I've always enjoyed Ticket to Ride. I think Ticket to Ride is a very fun game. It's not my favorite. It is in my top 100. I do like it a lot because, I see it primarily as a gateway game to get other people excited and into the hobby, this was not one of the first games I played. I actually was quite late to the party for Ticket to Ride, as I was with Catan. So that wasn't a gateway game for me, but I can see it being a gateway game for a lot of other people. I've seen it. So that's really, really cool, and that's one of the things I love about Ticket to Ride. Now, I think one of the advantages of it being a gateway game, and a fun and competitive gateway game, is if you look at the original Ticket to Ride, it's fairly quick. It's about an hour playtime, roughly. And this Rails and Sails is longer. It's longer because the cards are coming out differently. You've got more routes around the board. It's just a longer game. You're looking here with 4 or 5 players. You're looking at a 2-hour, maybe 2-hour plus game. To me, that kind of detracts a little bit from what I like about Ticket to Ride, the length. I like Ticket to Ride. I think it's fun. I think it's competitive, but it's always been fairly quick. This is longer. Now, having said that, and I'll tell you right now, that's probably my biggest complaint with this game. Maybe my only complaint. Other than that, I really enjoyed it. I like the harbors. I like the maps. I think they're both really fun and interesting and cool. I really enjoyed this game. I think this is another winner from Days of Wonder. I think they consistently put out some good stuff for Ticket to Ride, and this one's no exception. I really enjoyed it. Would I reach for this or the original Ticket to Ride? I feel like I would probably reach more for the original for the reasons I mentioned, but I will be playing this one again. I think there's enough uniqueness here and enough things that are fun and interesting and give you different challenges that this is one I'm gonna play again. I liked it. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to recommend try it before you buy it because, like I say, there's some of those issues with the length that may have some people shy away. But generally, if you like Ticket to Ride and you're looking for something new in Ticket to Ride, looking for a new fun, new adventure, I think this is one you want to check out. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really glad that this game was put out by Days of Wonder and not their competitors, Days of Blunder, because they just screw things up.
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
And then Rio de Janeiro to Perth for 17. So that would be, it was 26 plus 17. 40?
Huh?
No, 26, not 26. Don't
It's
record
13.
me. I'm getting
7
all
plus 6 is 13.
weird. I know.